I'm from the venues account management team here at Hitched.
Hi, I'm Inigo and I'm part of the suppliers team on the account management side as well.
And today we're just going to do a quick little sales training video with you. We're going to go over, first of all, some top tips to do with your listing and best practices there. We're also going to talk about price indicators because there's been a lot of questions coming up about that lately. And then lastly, we're going to talk about lead responses and basically the best way to close a sale.
Okay, so we're going to start on how to improve your listing, make sure that it's optimized, making sure that you're standing out as a business on the website. So I think the best place to start is a description that you have on your listing. I think sometimes people do have quite a long description, and what I find is sometimes couples don't read all of it. So what's important is to have the key information towards the top. If they're not going to read all of it, what is it that you want them to know, and put that towards the top of the listing. You got anything else to add?
Yeah, I guess just on that topic of just SEO, so just making sure you're using lots of keywords and making sure that a big no-no would be making sure that it's not copied and pasted from any other website, so whether it's another directory or your own website. You can always contact your account manager and we can send it on to our content team to make sure that it is SEO optimized. And just keeping it nice and concise, especially a lot of our users use a mobile phone or use the app, and it's so much longer on a phone than it is on a desktop computer. So just making sure that it's nice and concise.
I think also, like, in terms of keywords as well, just so everyone's clear, like that's like your location, your business, making sure those are towards the top of your description.
Yeah.
So if someone's searching for those things in Google, your Hitch listing might come up higher towards the top.
Yeah, perfect. So other than description, obviously your images, you can have as many as you want on your listing, but we always say quality over quantity. Really nice, good quality high-res images. For a venue, we say as a cover image, nice bright blue skies, green grass, exterior shot of the venue, or a nice interior shot of the venue dressed as a wedding. We also say mix it up a little bit, have some images of the venue not dressed as a wedding at all, so it's a bit of a blank canvas, which helps as well. A little bit different for some suppliers, but Inigo can probably...
Yeah, so I think for suppliers, obviously we've got quite a large range of suppliers, so it's different between different suppliers, but I think typically if we can see the couples or we can see the wedding guests in the pictures, I think couples tend to just see themselves or their couples in the pictures and they really like that. And maybe they can internalize that and they buy you based on those pictures there. I think also, again, with images, we want probably a minimum of 8, but ideally more, as long as you can keep the quality. Don't overdo it. And also, again, I think if you go on the listing page and you see yourself, pretend you're a couple, you go on the listing page, you see all the different vendors. How does your main image stand out to a competition? I think that's like the real thing that people buy you on.
And it's your first sort of 5 to, as Inigo said, minimum of 8 pictures, but your first 5 to 10 are the most important because you can, as a user, you can flick through a listing's images without ever going into the listing. So you really need to grab their attention in those first few pictures. They could be cropped funny, they might look amazing from the venues or vendor admin account, but they don't work on the listing. So just look from both perspectives.
I think, or just before we finish that as well, like I would definitely front load them as well. So someone loves your main image, but then they scroll through to second, third or fourth and they don't quite like those, they might skip off and go on to someone else. So make sure that you're really showing yourself not just on the main image, but the second, third, fourth, fifth, maybe even the first 10, and rotate them on a regular basis to see if any get better engagement. Exactly,
other than that, obviously, just last point of call would just be your reviews in real weddings. Anyone knows if you're doing any kind of online shopping and you're looking for a product and real people have loved the product and endorsed it, you're more likely to buy it. It's exactly the same with listings. Request reviews after weddings, even during this pandemic. Reach out to couples that may have had a really great experience with the way that you've dealt with them, the way that you've rescheduled them, and they would really be happy to leave you a review even if they haven't actually had their wedding yet. That's a great way to show how you operate as a company if you were able to look after these couples during such an adverse time. So I think that that's a really good, important part is your reviews as well.
I mean, I can't really add much more to that. I think that's basically it. But that's the only real objective bit of data that people have when they're comparing you to someone else. If the other suppliers above and below you, they've got more reviews, then you might not be picked because of that on its own.
Yeah, they're super important. Other than that, I mean, we could talk all day about ways to make your listing better and sort of best practices there, but there is lots of information in the vendor's admin account under the campus tab. Otherwise, of course, reach out to your account manager if you ever want tips and help and a bit more personalized advice. Okay, so the next sort of topic that we want to talk about is a price indicator, because pricing is obviously a super important part of the sales process. So my advice normally I give to venues is actually not to put a price indicator on your listing, because like anything when it comes to sales, you never want to start with money. You want someone to fall in love with the product or the service first, and then you start talking money. So that's my sort of blanket advice with that. However, there is definitely instances where it can be useful. If you're finding that you might be a little bit more of an expensive venue and you're finding the inquiries coming through, you're having a conversation, you're spending lots of time, and in the end, this couple is just, you're way out of their budget, that's one reason that a price indicator might work for you. But I think another point to kind of add to that would be, if that's happening, maybe look at the listing, and if you are an expensive venue, does your listing make you look expensive? Are they kind of matching up? So there's a lot of kind of topics that can go into the price indicator, but that's my main advice, is never start with money, because often if someone loves something enough, they'll make it work. So you actually might be out of someone's budget, but they'll pay more for a service from somebody that they've really built rapport with and they've made a connection with. And that they trust. So yeah, that's my personal opinion on price indicators on listings.
I think, very similar. Obviously there's pros and cons to both. I think what you can use on the Hitched website is you can add a minimum price on there. And I think that gives couples a good indication when they're comparing you to other people on the site. And again, you should look on the site and see what other people are charging, to see how you compare. Are you one of the higher end or one of the budget suppliers? And does your price indicate that? Are you signaling that to couples? Are you getting the right people coming through to you? I think typically I probably would, not say, or would say not to give prices straight away, because otherwise you're just competing on price from the first minute, and that could be an objection, and then that stops you from going further and taking that booking further and potentially converting. I think, especially if you've got a bespoke service, you definitely need to have that conversation and let them understand why something costs as much as it does. But if I think like certain suppliers as well, they have quite maybe one or two services, so you could potentially give prices when you've only got one or two services, but when you've got quite an extensive array of products,
there's so many variables that will go into the costing that you actually might not even have a blanket price, so it can just confuse people, and you might turn people off that actually would have been very much interested, and you're very much within their budget, so it can just be a little bit difficult, I think, when there's so much that goes into it. But at the end of the day, it's a business decision. Look at what your competitors are doing. If none of your competitors have got price indicators up, then you probably don't need to. If they all do, then maybe it's something to consider. But it is an individual business decision as to whether you want to do a price indicator on your listings or not.
Yeah, and I think like once you are able to have a conversation with people, you can start to educate them a bit and make them understand why the prices are the way they are. And once they
sell the value, not stop the money.
Yeah, and I think the price is less of an objection once you've started to have that conversation. They understand the product. They maybe they don't quite understand your service. They're looking to get married. They don't really know what it is that you do. They don't know much about the industry that you work in. So when you can talk to them and help them understand the product, the value of the product, the work that goes into it, your experience, things like that, then you can really start to sell it. And then once you add the pricing later on, it's less likely to be an objection.
Yeah, completely agree.
Okay, and finally we're going to look at lead responses. So to start with, the best thing to do is respond quickly. The quicker the better. You've got 3 different ways to respond really. You can respond through the Hitched website. One of the benefits of that is you can see whether they've replied or not. They'll get notifications from Hitched. And if they're using the app, they're using the website, they might see that and reply. Alternatively, you can send an email. There are some advantages of that. However, it could potentially get lost in the junk box as well. So you have to consider that as well. And then, you can give people a direct call or a text as well. And all 3 of those methods can have, quite a lot of success. And when you combine them together, I think that's when you get the most success.
Yeah, I think the biggest tip I could give once you've got the lead and once you've received the inquiry is respond straight away as soon as you can, within 24 hours, but honestly, if within a few hours is best. keep it short and sweet. Try and get them on the phone. So even, I was speaking to a venue very recently that said they're having a lot of success by, instead of replying with a big email with brochure, which a lot of venues do, and it's kind of, you're going to get lost within that, a really nice short and sweet response with 3 options with times of a Zoom call. Like, when would you like to book in? Let's jump on a call. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the big day, the wedding that you want, what I can do to help, and kind of build the rapport from that way. And then you can send all of the bulk of the information. But it's really important to, like in any sales process, to get them on the phone and build a relationship with them. Ask all the right questions, find exactly what they want so that you can meet their expectations and you can kind of sell the dream to them. But you can try text, phone calls, emails to kind of get that initial call in. But also don't be afraid to follow up is a really big one that we both hear a lot from vendors is, I responded to the lead and I never heard anything back. Sometimes you might need to follow them up 2 or 3 times. If you have tried calling and emailing, send them a text. Show them that you are interested and that you do want to help be a part of their special day. It's the most important day of their lives potentially. So you need to, make sure that they know that you will do everything that you can to deliver that to them. So
yeah. And I think, in terms of replying, you definitely do have to keep following up. If
100%.
you haven't heard back, you should really follow up until you get a response, whether it's yes or no. If you don't hear anything, you've got no feedback to work on as well, and then you can't adapt. And, basically you need to find out how you can get responses, how you can convert, try and learn the best process, try and understand, what works with couples, and then really hone in on that. If you're not getting responses, then you really have no idea what's working and what's not. I
was going to say on that, try different things. If you're continuously responding via email and you're not getting anything back, try something new, whether that's the Hitched for Business app. We definitely recommend giving that a go. A really good feature of that is actually a little red receipt comes up. So you can actually see if your message has been read by the couple, kind of like on WhatsApp with 2 little blue ticks. So you know that they've read your response. And if they haven't responded to that, then give them a call, chase them, that they've seen it. Why didn't they respond? So that's a really good feature that I've noticed on the messaging system as well, for those that aren't aware that that's a thing.
Yeah, and I think also, sometimes people don't reply, but anecdotally, talking with my vendors, sometimes people don't reply and then they'll send another message and, the couple say, oh, I'm really sorry, this came up, that came up. So even if they don't reply, doesn't mean that they're not interested. There's so many things going on, especially now with COVID. So it's really important just to chase people up. And also not to feel like you're pestering them, because if you've got a great business and they're going to be getting married, you're really doing them a favour. Like if you've got a great business and you're going to help them have a great wedding day, you're not really pestering them, you're adding value for them. So, I definitely chase them up and don't feel like, you shouldn't be, because that's your lead that you've earned. And you definitely deserve to be chasing that up and potentially making a sale. Yeah,
and on that, I guess the other side of this is never make assumptions and treat all leads equally. So whether they come through as a personalized message or they're the more generic template, a lead is a lead. It's all a potential sale. Follow every single one up. Don't assume that one is a little bit warmer than another, because it's always, with anything when it comes to sales, it's always the ones that you least expect will actually be the ones that you can convert and you can close. So treat them all the same. A lead is a lead. We've got quite high numbers of lead volume coming through at the moment, because obviously since the pandemic's happened, everyone's had a lot of time at home to kind of shop around and browse. Couples will shop around. They will inquire to potentially 20 venues, however many suppliers before they pick the right one. So you need to be very competitive. You need to stand out. You need to do the work. You need to take initiative, I suppose, to really chase them and make sure that you're the vendor that they go with.
Yeah, and I think also, if you can schedule a call, I think, typically it can be quite hard to take a booking through the Hitched website, but once you can schedule a call, get them on the phone, really sell yourself, build rapport, you can potentially close on the phone within that one call as well. So I think, and talking with my other vendors, once you get people on the phone, conversion rate goes, right through the roof. So
always,
I think, the aim really is to just get people on the phone. Some businesses I know they can convert without a phone call, but a lot of them, especially if you've got quite a bespoke service, you really need to be getting on the phone. And trying to schedule that call in and not asking too many questions. You can go over everything on the phone, but if you ask for too much information, people are so busy, they're not going to read your messages, especially if you send a really long response, they're not going to read it. So keep it short, try and schedule in the call. Are you free tomorrow? I'd love to hear more about your wedding, your plans. And you can sell yourself on that phone call.
Yeah, I think so. So I guess to summarize, respond as soon as possible. Short and sweet emails and texts. Call them or try to book in a call, Zoom call, try to book in an in-person meeting, especially as a venue, a tour. Ask the right questions, build rapport, show your personality, show your business, and follow up, keep chasing them until you talk to them.
Okay, that concludes our sales training. Obviously that's quite general advice, but we've got a great team of account managers, so if you ever need any more specific help, definitely do get in touch with us.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got lots of information, as I said, in the vendor's admin account in the campus section as well. And of course, reach out to your account managers. As Inogo said, it's been a very blanket guidance, but of course, every business is different. So if you do chat to us, we'll be more than happy to give you a bit more of a bespoke advice on what might work for you best.